What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Now it's almost time for the WWE's first pay-per-view of the year and a new one to boot, as day one is set to take place. However, will COVID-19 throw the proverbial monkey wrench into the works? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at some last-minute shocking rumors regarding day one. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 1. Day 1 done? Well, the biggest question surrounding Day 1 is which, if any, WWE superstars currently booked for the new pay-per-view will be absent due to testing positive for COVID-19 or having to quarantine due to exposure. As previously reported, WWE President Nick Khan is looking to make the WWE's new pay-per-view into one of the company's must-see shows, much like the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, hence the big money matches like Brock Lesnar vs Universal Champion Roman Reigns and the Fatal 4-Way involving WWE Champion Becky, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley. However, what will the WWE do if it's forced to change some of its big bouts? While it's known that Seth Rollins has tested positive for COVID, it's unknown whether any other wrestler has tested positive. The WWE pulled a number of superstars from live events, chief among them Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and fans noticed several absences on the 27th December Raw, including WWE Champion Biggie. It's unknown if these absences were due to a positive COVID test, a quarantine imposed after exposure to someone with COVID, or the WWE taking precautions to lessen the chance of a superstar missing day one. However, what will the WWE do if one or more of its top matches had to be changed? And in case you missed our recent news video, the WWE has adopted the Center for Disease Control's new policy concerning quarantine, essentially reducing quarantine times from 10 days to 5 days. The WWE has also reportedly ended its weekly, and in the case of NXT, twice weekly COVID tests. This suggests it would be easier for the WWE to get quarantined wrestlers into the ring faster, although they are required to have 2 negative COVID test results on 2 consecutive days. Some fans and pundits, as well as wrestlers, think this change of policy makes the chance of a COVID outbreak seem greater, but the WWE may be eager to make sure day one happens as planned and worry about the consequences afterwards. After all, the Royal Rumble isn't until 29th January. Ultimately, there's no chance of day one being cancelled, short of a company-wide COVID outbreak, and it's more a question of how major changes to the card would affect the fans' perception and how potential changes would affect future booking. While fans will be disappointed if a major match doesn't happen, it wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened, and the WWE likes to say, the show must go on. Nonetheless, the WWE has a potential crisis when it comes to its WrestleMania 38 main event, should Lesnar vs Reigns be postponed. And while WrestleMania 38 is still months away, rumor has it that the WWE is planning on using day one's Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar match as a setup for the main event at this year's Showcase of the Immortals. However, if that match doesn't happen at day one, what then? Well, Dave Meltzer elaborated on the match during a recent Wrestling Observer Radio. I was essentially told it was very important for WrestleMania that Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman do not miss this show, so obviously there's something big going on there. Reigns was absent from 2 recent live events, leading to some fans believing he was pulled to minimize his exposure to COVID-19 and maximize his chance of performing at day one. The drama surrounding Paul Heyman's true allegiance has fueled wild speculation about whether Heyman is back with his former client Brock Lesnar, or his fallout as tribal counsel to Reigns is an elaborate work designed to thwart Lesnar's title ambition. Number 3. Setting the stage for 2022. Our fans are curious about which programs day one will close out, which ones it will continue, and which ones it will create. Well, let's look at some of the likely scenarios. First, looking at Lesnar vs Reigns. Well, short of a catastrophic change of plans, the WWE is clearly building up Brock vs Roman Reigns Part 3 for WrestleMania, but it's unclear just how the WWE will keep fans interested after Lesnar lost to Reigns at Crown Jewel. Rumor has it that the WWE wants to build Reigns up as much as possible, with one goal being to have him break Brock Lesnar's 500-day reign as Universal Champion. Now, the only way that can happen is if Reigns retains at day one, unless the WWE decides to have Lesnar and presumably Paul Heyman stick it to the tribal chief by denying him that honor. Lesnar vs Reigns has always been an entertaining series, but the WWE needs to book this particular match adroitly or fans will feel cheated, sapping interest in the rematch. Next up, Happy Corbin vs Madcap Moss. The WWE Universe might be wondering why Drew McIntyre is wrestling Madcap Moss of all people at day 1, as it seems like a match better suited for television rather than pay-per-view. Based off the buzz we've heard, the WWE wants a Madcap Moss vs Happy Corbin program, presumably to elevate Moss. This raises questions itself as to why the WWE is suddenly interested in Moss as a potential star. Corbin has shown he's good at providing a foil for just about any opponent, but given Moss's history, it's unclear just how far he can go. As for McIntyre, there is talks that WWE wants to book him against Roman Reigns going into the Royal Rumble, giving Reigns a fresh opponent until his WrestleMania rematch against Lesnar. If so, it's not a good sign for the Scottish Warrior, as he seems like he'll be just another victim of the head of the table. Next up, Liv Morgan vs Becky Lynch. A Liv Morgan vs Becky Lynch is the type of feud with the potential to transform into something big. Well, the problem is that the WWE isn't giving Morgan the push to show she's a capable opponent or someone the fans should even get behind. But that could change at day 1 if Morgan defeats Becky Lynch or the Raw Women's Champion gets herself DQ'd or counted out to avoid a looming defeat. A subsequent WrestleMania 38 rematch could be a star-making performance for Morgan, while a loss, clean or tainted at day 1, is going to convince the fans that she's one notch above Nikki Ash. Number 4, the return of Edge. One of the bigger questions surrounding the Edge vs Miz program, besides how badly it's been booked, is whether Edge's wife Beth Phoenix will get involved. Fans were surprised to see the Miz's wife Maryse return to the WWE after being off television since 2018, other than her brief appearance during the Miz's program with The Fiend, leading to whisperings that the two-time Divas champion might be looking to compete again. This Saturday's Edge vs Miz match could see interference from Maryse, setting the stage for a mixed tag match featuring Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maryse. If so, we really hope it doesn't drag out into WrestleMania, as Edge should be working a bigger program at this year's Showcase of the Immortals. Number 5, the return of Alexa Bliss. The fans should keep an eye out for Alexa Bliss, who was last seen having a post-match meltdown due to a loss to Charlotte Flair. There are a number of unknowns involving Bliss, including when she's coming back and whether she'll continue with a Fiend-like character or go back to her previous persona, but day 1 could be a good way for the WWE to tease her return or even have her show up on screen. Bliss could go after Charlotte Flair, continuing their program from Extreme Rules, or try and help longtime friend Nikki Ash break out of her funk. And lastly, any additional matches or substitutions? Or should fans expect any substitutions and or additional matches at day 1? The pay-per-view currently has 7 matches scheduled, which is common for WWE pay-per-views. While it's unclear if the WWE is going to have to make any substitutions, it has several options both for substitutions and for adding matches. Indeed, fans should be shocked to see more matches on the card, including an Intercontinental Championship defense by Shinsuke Nakamura and a women's tag team match between current champions Zelina Vega and Carmella against former champions Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley. Now, day 1 is being built up as a major show, and one way the WWE has traditionally built up its top shows is by loading up the card. Now, the pandemic has put this on hold, but judging from SummerSlam and Crown Jewel, they aren't afraid to stack its card, so be prepared for another 4-hour show. The WWE also has its usual bag of tricks for extra matches, including Battle Royals or one of the many endless rematches it's become known for. Let's just hope we don't see another Doudrop vs Bianca Belair bout. But there you have it, guys, the most shocking last-minute day 1 rumors that you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.